Whitewater activities can be a great high adventure way to get outdoors. However, when you're in the rapids and you're going down the river, things can definitely go wrong. One way things can go wrong is if, say, your boat, played by this boogie board, gets pinned on some rocks, played by these pots. So once you've established that if you're in this situation, you can't paddle out or push yourself off the rocks to get unpinned, and you've bailed out, how do you get your boat? It's not only not cost effective to leave your boat there, it's also dangerous for other paddlers, and it's not good for the environment. There's so many considerations why you should get your boat out. A naive approach may be to swim in and try and pull it out, but with the entire force of the river pushing the boat into the rocks, you may find it very difficult to get the boat unpinned. This also exposes you to being in the water, in the rapid, without a boat for an extended period of time. An additional approach may be to swim out with a rope, hook the rope onto your boat, swim back to the shore, and then try and pull your boat out of the water with that rope. This is good because it keeps you safe from being exposed to the rapids for a prolonged period of time, but you don't have any way to amplify your force, and so you're still fighting against the entire force of the river. So what I'd like to propose is a system called a Z-drag, which is a proven method that whitewater paddlers use everywhere to get their boats unpinned. Not only does it remove you from being exposed to the rapid while trying to remove your boat, it also amplifies your force by implementing a pulley system that helps you get more force by pulling a longer distance through the pulleys. So I'm going to go over the steps of how to build one, including the short intermediate steps, and then putting it all together. And then I'm going to give you a chance to problem solve and practice with it.
So one of the first pieces of our puzzle for making a Z-drag is having a friction hinge, which will help us both develop a brake and have a almost ratcheting piece that'll travel up and down our rope. So what we're doing here is making a climb heist. So the first step is to make a bight that goes around our rope and make sure, like I just did, that the knots of your prusik that you're making your bight with are big enough to go through that bight. Then you're going to start making a series of loops. So over, under, over, under. So we've just made our first one. So we've gone over once. And then we'll go over twice. And we're making sure that the pieces are perfectly parallel here. So that way we get a nice, well-dressed hitch. This hitch works even if it's not well-dressed, but it's more effective and easier to manage if it is well-dressed. So I've just made the third wrap around, and you'll see that we'll have 6 individual pieces of the cord, and then we're going to take the rope, or take the tail one more time behind. We're going to take the knots, go up through the bight, pull it tight, and pull down to dress the hitch. And we'll zoom in just a second to look at it a little bit more. So what you have is you have 3 sets of 2 parallel things and then a tail. And the tail goes through a bight that reaches down all the way across. This hitch, if you pick it up at the top and the bottom, slides up and down, but if you pull on that tail, it locks off. We should also briefly discuss our webbing strap. So in this scenario, we've used an NRS piece of webbing, which has a buckle that tightens down one way, but allows the webbing to be pulled through another way. An important thing when you're using this webbing is because that buckle is one way, you want to add a redundant knot. It is rare that will be pulled through, but add a knot. So this is just a simple figure 8. Not a follow through, not on a bight, but it'll catch on the buckle even if the buckle is wide open and keep the webbing from going through.
So before we can set up most of our Z-drag, we also need to pick
a tree as an anchor point. So if you're picking a tree, pick one that is about waist thick. That'll ensure that it can handle the weight that you're putting on it, and one that doesn't have exposed roots into the river or whatever body of water that you're using the Z-Drag for. You could also use a boulder or something like a truck that is less likely to move when you're doing this. But today we're going to use a tree. That's most of the time going to be what you use. So you're going to take your NRS strap, your webbing, and you have two choices. For larger trees, you can just wrap it around one time, kind of like that, get it a little tighter. With the metal piece in the back, tie a knot to stop it off. And then you can hook your carabiner right here to serve as an anchor. But this tree is a lot smaller, so that means we can do an even safer one. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove our webbing from the tree. And this takes some experimentation, some guessing to get good at guessing right. I am probably not good yet. But you're gonna make a loop about that big. Then you're gonna put your buckle in the middle of that loop, so it's not in either of your hands. Wrap your loop around the tree and put one bite through the other. Just like that. Now you can put a carabiner in this bite, and that'll be the anchor point for your Z-Drag. Once you have it all the right size, you can use this to adjust a little bit. You're going to tie your stopper knot so that if your buckle starts to slip, your stopper knot will jam it and you won't lose all of your progress and everything go downriver.
In setting up our Z-Drag, we'll also be using pulleys. Pulleys help reduce the shear, which is the resistance that a rope has in going around a tight corner. So you can use a pulley, or you could also use carabiners that are doubled up, a single carabiner if need be, or even several pieces of rope from tying something like a triple butterfly on a bite or a triple alpine butterfly. Our pulleys work by flipping that top piece open, sliding the rope in, flipping the top piece back over, sliding in the carabiner, and locking it off. So for cleanup and fine details, we also need to know how to flake a rope into a bag. So you start by having your hand around the rope through the bag and just pushing links of the rope into the bag, making sure you have a stopper knot tied in the top of the hole at the bottom of the bag and in the bottom. So a well-flaked rope should be able to just fall out of the bag. You should be able to throw it and the rope comes out not in any kind of knots, just like that. Also for this presentation, I chose to use an NRS strap as opposed to just a normal piece of webbing. So I'm going to show you how to roll that on top of everything else. So you start by finding the middle and then shifting down a little bit so that the tail is longer than the buckle, like I just showed. Work your way down and ensure that the buckle, the top of the buckle, is facing out, and start to roll in. So that way that the buckle will end up on the top of the tail as it's rolled up. I chose to use an NRS strap here because it is something that is going to be found on a lot of kayaking trailers and whitewater trailers. And it's just easy to get your hands on and familiar to a lot of people in this type of area. Once you have it rolled up like that, take the tail, which should be longer than the buckle, flip it back over the buckle and through that part where the buckle meets the rest of the webbing. Wrap it all the way around the coil and then put the tail back through the buckle. So that'll lock the buckle back onto that roll and help keep the roll in place. This is a tricky part. It is going to take a little bit of experimentation and also just a couple tries. Don't be afraid to fail or let it come unwrapped, and tighten and loosen until you get a really nice clean roll through that process, just like that one. Look at it.
So now it's time to put it all together and create an actual Z-Drag system. So we have our boat on our rocks. We also have, we're going to call this our tree here, and we're going to put all of those pieces that we developed separately into one system to dislodge our boat from the rocks. So the first thing we're going to do is choose our tree, get our webbing, and tie the anchor like we did earlier. This anchor is going to be a lot smaller than it would typically be because we're not dealing with an actual full-size tree here. So we're going to make it about that big. Just like before, go through to create a tie like that. Tie our stuff. Cool. Next, we're going to take a carabiner and hook it to the end of our rope. Just like that. And then carefully go out into the river. There are a few ways to do this. One is to have a second rope and have friends hold, clip it to the back of you and hold you so that if you go downstream, they can catch you. Or you can all line up with this on the far end and your arms around each other's shoulders until you get out to the boat. Then I'm going to clip in the carabiner because it's a locking one. I'm going to tighten it off. It does not have to be a locking one, but a lot of this gear is retired climbing gear. So a lot of the time you do get a locking one. Then, not letting go of the rope, I'm going to head back to the tree. And then I'm going to get an additional carabiner with a pulley on it. Just like we discussed how to put the pulley in, I'm going to put the rope on the pulley. I'm going to put the rope on the pulley. I will have the part that's connecting to the boat on the outside of the pulley, and then connect through, trying not to pull my boat yet, and secure that to our anchor. Now what I have is just a one pulley system. I haven't really amplified my force or anything yet, so this is where we're going to start differentiating this system. So I'm going to start by adding a brake. And I'll do a zoom in shot of this in just a second. But I'm going to tie a Klim heist so that the tail of the Klim heist is opposing the direction towards the boat. So the tail should be in the direction of the anchor. And I'm going to clip that in next to the pulley. I'm doing this so that it serves as a brake. So if I have to let go of the working end of my system, this will catch and my boat won't just go floating downstream. So this is our braking setup next to our anchor here at this pulley. So as you can see, if I pull it that way, this Klim heist is going to choke down because the tail is hooked into this carabiner. So it's stuck on this carabiner. But if it's time for me to pull through this way, I can put my fingers right here and it'll just slide down and you can hear the boat coming. It'll just slide down like that. But as soon as I let go and I stop applying force and it recoils that way, it's going to catch, just like a brake. Notice the tail needs to go right there. Now, I'm going to take my third, final carabiner, my second prusik, and my second pulley. And I'm going to move
on land, not in the water, on land, and tie another Klimheist. This one also with the tail pointed towards the anchor. What this one is going to do is give us a traveling point that we can attach a pulley to. So now we have a pulley that we can move up and down the rope so that we can still stay on land, run our pulley here, pull it all the way back to the anchor, and if we still need more distance, we can rely on the brake to catch everything, slide this back to the edge of the water, and repeat. So now I'm going to take my rope from here, and I'm going to hook it into this pulley system. And if this was locking, I would lock it. So now, I'm also going to put all of my extra rope over there. And so I'm going to take slack out of the rope. I'm going to keep my fingers under my Klimheist brake over here. And just pull with this. And so this is coming really nice and easy because I have 3 pulleys in the system. And then if I let go here, it'll break and not pull through there. When I've pulled the traveling Klimheist, this, all the way to me basically, the brake can hold, and I can take the traveling Klimheist and move it back out so that I can continue like a ratcheting motion. So, and that's the Z-Drag.